Welcome to today's live reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram. At the moment, we are reading from the Yuddha kanda, and Kumbhakaran has been summoned by Ravan to come and take part in the battle. So we resume from there. Lord Brahma entered meditation, and when he beheld Kumbhakaran with his mystic vision, he became alarmed. After pondering the situation, Lord Brahma approached Kumbhakaran saying, "You have been created for the destruction of the world, but it is now time for universal maintenance. Therefore, for the welfare of all living beings, you will remain continually buried in deep sleep from this day forward." Kumbhakaran soon became overpowered by Lord Brahma's curse. Ravan then pleaded, "O Brahma, you have cut down a tree that is just about to bear a fruit. O supreme teacher within the universe, it is not proper for you to curse your great-grandson like this. I know your words cannot prove futile, but you should at least allow Kumbhakaran some time for remaining awake." Lord Brahma replied, "I shall grant your wish. Kumbhakaran will sleep continuously for 6 months and then awaken for 1 day. At that time, he can wander over the earth and devour whatever he likes before falling into another slumber." Vibhishan concluded, "Ravan has awakened Kumbhakaran prematurely because of being hard-pressed in battle, but by just seeing the monstrous Rakshas, our monkey soldiers have been thrown into confusion. I suggest that we tell the monkeys that Kumbhakaran is simply a large mechanical device that will help them to overcome their fear." As Kumbhakaran entered Ravan's palace, Ram ordered Neel to rally the monkeys and attack the city's gates. Again, fierce fighting broke out between the monkeys and the Rakshasas. At the same time, Kumbhakaran, along with the thousands of his followers, came before Ravan as he sat on the Pushpak chariot feeling most disturbed. Upon seeing Kumbhakaran, Ravan became enlivened. After seating him at his side, the Rakshas king embraced his brother Kumbhakaran, inquired, "O Ravan, what service do you wish me to do for you?" Ravan replied, "As you know, Ram has attacked Lanka with a huge army of monkeys. Already many prominent Rakshasas have died at their hands. My dear brother, I am depending on you to kill Ram and Lakshman, for I can see no one else capable of doing so." Kumbhakaran laughed heartily upon hearing Ravan's fearful plea and said, "What was predicted by Vibhishan and other intelligent ministers has now come to pass. My dear brother, you are a rascal for ignoring the good advice of sincere well-wishers. Vibhishan and Mandodari were correct when they advised you to return to Sita and Ram to return Sita to Ram. O king, it is not too late for you to rectify your mistakes, although the decision is certainly yours alone." Ravan became incensed upon hearing this unsolicited advice, but checked his anger. He replied, "It is futile for you to talk like this now, for the battle is in full motion. My dear brother, even if I did make mistake in kidnapping Sita, I now request you to nullify the error by manifesting your unparalleled prowess." To pacify Ravan, Kumbhakaran sweetly replied, "O king, do not worry, for I promise to kill Ram and Lakshman and all the monkeys headed by Sugriv and Hanuman. These so-called heroes have only been successful on the battlefield because I was not present. Now you shall see how significant the enemy is in the face of my supreme might." Desiring to please Ravan, Mahodar interrupted Kumbhakaran, saying, "You are an arrogant fool for daring to criticize your elder brother. He is the king and can do whatever he likes. There was nothing wrong in Ravan's kidnapping Sita. Indeed, many kings are naturally inclined to exhibit their prowess by performing such activities. O proud giant, let me assure you that you will not be able to defeat Ram simply by dint of your strength, as you claim." Mahodar continued, "O king, I have devised a clever plan for winning over Sita. Let Kumbhakaran, myself, and other Rakshasa heroes attack Ram together. If we are able to kill him, then victory will be ours. However, even if we cannot defeat them, we can still return to Lanka, claiming that we have devoured him. The false story of Ram's death should then be broadcast all over the city to the accompaniment of beating drums and rewarding our soldiers and servants. Thus the rumor will soon reach Sita. You should then go to her as she finds out herself drowning in an ocean of grief, tempt her with promises of royal comfort and luxury, trying your best to gain her confidence. Since she will feel that she is without any protector, I am sure that she will submit to you, O king. If you fight with Ram, you will surely use your life on the battlefield. However, if you take my advice, you can win Sita without ever encountering Ram." Kumbhakaran replied harshly, "Mahodar, your words would only appeal to cowardly kings. I have already made up my mind to kill Ram. My determination cannot go in vain. The rest of you have bungled the war, causing Lanka to be divested of its population. I shall now rectify the situation alone. I need no one to help me." At this Ravan laughed. "What you say is true. Mahodar must truly be afraid of Ram. O Kumbhakaran, no one can stand before you when you enter the battlefield, consumed with rage. Now please go and fight, putting an end to our anxieties, but do not go alone. Surround yourself with an army of Rakshasas so you can become even more invincible." Ravan's spirits lifted as he considered the prowess of his younger brother. As Kumbhakaran picked up a deadly dart and prepared to depart, Ravan placed a golden necklace and garlands around his neck and decorated him with other ornaments. Then Kumbhakaran put on a suit of impenetrable golden armor. After he circumambulated Ravan and bowed before him, his elder brother embraced and blessed him. As he approached the battlefield, Kumbhakaran expanded the body to 600 bow lengths in height and 100 bow lengths in width. Even though he was determined to kill Ram and Lakshman and devour the entire monkey army, he soon began to notice many fearful omens. Meteors streaked across the sky and the she-jackals howled ominously. Kumbhakaran's left eye began to twitch and his left arm throbbed. Then a vulture alighted upon the spear Kumbhakaran carried, but under the sway of destiny, the puffed up Kumbhakaran did not heed these inauspicious warnings. As Kumbhakaran stepped over the defensive wall and entered the battlefield, the monkeys panicked, running away in fear. However, Angad managed to rally the army, and when the monkeys returned, they showered Kumbhakaran with countless trees and mountain peaks. Regardless, their missiles simply broke to pieces upon striking the gigantic Rakshasa's body. In retaliation, Kumbhakaran began to slaughter multitudes of monkeys. The monkeys again panicked in the stampede that followed. Some fell from the cliffs into the oceans, while others kept their eyes closed in fear. Angad then rallied the army, saying, "It is better to die gloriously in battle than to flee in the hope of finding a life of ease. Such cowards have to pass the duration of their lives being ridiculed by their relatives. Indeed, such insults give more pain than death." Still the monkeys and their commanders continued to flee, for they considered their lives to be very dear. Finally, when Angad assured them that Ram would kill the giant, they gradually returned to the battlefield. Soon the monkeys rushed to Kumbhakaran, and the gigantic Rakshas struck down 8,700 of them, swinging his club on all sides and taking as many as 30 monkeys at a time in his arms. Kumbhakaran stuffed them into his cavernous mouth. Dvividha then threw a huge rock at Kumbhakaran. Then when the rock missed its mark, it landed among the Rakshas's army, smashing many of the soldiers. From the sky, Hanuman tried to shower mountain peaks upon Kumbhakaran, but the colossal Rakshas easily tore them to pieces with his hands. Then when Kumbhakaran took up his spear and rushed at the monkeys, Hanuman stood in his path and hurled a great mountain peak at him. Kumbhakaran avoided the blow. However, when he threw his spear in retaliation, it pierced Hanuman's chest, causing him to vomit blood and cry out in pain. When the Rakshasas rejoiced upon hearing Hanuman's plight, the monkeys fearfully scattered in all directions. However, Neel quickly rallied the retreating warriors and hurled a mountain peak at Kumbhakaran, which he easily broke to pieces with his fist. Rishab, Sarab, Neel, Gavaksha and Gandhamad then pounced upon Kumbhakaran all at once. But the giant Rakshas felt their powerful blows to be as severe as loving caresses. Kumbhakaran caught hold of Rishab and after squeezing him in his hand threw him down unconscious on the ground. The Rakshas then struck the other 4 monkey heroes, making them all fall down in a swoon. At this, the other monkeys became enraged and thousands of them attacked Kumbhakaran at once, climbing all over his body as if it were a mountain. As the monkeys tried to bite him with their long sharp teeth, Kumbhakaran grabbed them in his arms and stuffed them into his gaping mouth. In this way, Kumbhakaran ranged over the battlefield and devoured innumerable monkeys, although some managed to escape through his nostrils and ears after entering his mouth. As the monkey soldiers ran to the shelter of Rama's lotus feet, Angad suddenly rushed at Kumbhakaran, flinging a mountain peak at his head. This only served to enrage the giant Rakshas further, who then rushed at Angad and hurled his spear. Angad jumped to dodge the spear and slapped Kumbhakaran in the chest, making him fall to the ground unconscious. Kumbhakaran quickly got up, however, and hit Angad with the back of his hand, causing him to fall into a daze. Kumbhakaran then picked up his spear and rushed at Sugriv, who quickly took up Mountain Peak to oppose him, but then Sugriv hurled the giant mass of rocks at Kumbhakaran's chest. It merely shattered into millions of pieces. The Rakshas shouted with joy, while the monkeys grew despondent. Kumbhakaran violently hurled his spear at Sugriv, roaring tumultuously. Hanuman, however, had been carefully watching the duel, and upon seeing Sugriv's plight, suddenly leapt up and caught the spear in midair, breaking it in half over his knee. The monkeys roared with delight upon seeing this extraordinary feat, leaving Kumbhakaran disheartened. Then, after breaking off a mountain peak with the great agitation, Kumbhakaran hurled it impetuously at Sugriv. When the monkey king fell unconscious from the blow, Kumbhakaran picked him up and tucked him under his arm, carrying him back to Lanka. Seeing this, Hanuman thought, if Sugriv is taken prisoner, our cause is lost. Therefore, I shall expand myself to become as huge as a mountain and then kill Kumbhakaran. The next moment, however, Hanuman considered, surely Sugriv will regain consciousness and somehow free himself. If it appears that the king has to be saved by someone else, he will become humiliated and disheartened. Kumbhakaran entered Lanka with Sugriv held captive, while the rejoicing citizens of Lanka showered unbroken grains and scented water upon their victorious hero. These offerings, however, helped to revive Sugriv. Thus, after getting his bearings, the monkey king began to fight back. Sugriv first tore off Kumbhakaran's earlobes with his sharp nails. Then he bit off Rakshasa's nose and split his sides open with the claws on his toes. Sharply pained, Kumbhakaran angrily threw down Sugriv and began beating him. However, Sugriv quickly bounded into the air and returned to Ram's side within an instant. Feeling famished, the enraged Kumbhakaran picked up a huge hammer and re-entered the enemy ranks to devour the monkeys. Taking handfuls of monkeys and rakshasas alike, Kumbhakaran stuffed them into his mouth, and streams of blood and fat poured out from the corners. Although the panic-stricken monkeys tried to take shelter of Ram, Kumbhakaran ran here and there, encircling hundreds at a time in his outstretched arms. Lakshman then came to attack Kumbhakaran with showers of arrows, but the Rakshas deflected them all. Seeing this, the enraged Lakshman proceeded to cover his armor with more arrows. Kumbhakaran disdainfully said, "I wish to fight with Ram, not his younger brother." In response, Lakshman pointed to Ram. Kumbhakaran then passed Lakshman by heading towards Ram. When the giant rushed at him, Ram quickly released a Rudra weapon. As it disappeared into his chest, Kumbhakaran began to stagger, dropping his club and scattering his other weapons here and there. The unarmed Kumbhakaran then drove off with his fists the monkeys, who hoped to take advantage of the setback. Then he seized a mountain peak and rushed towards Ram. Ram quickly tore the mass of rock into small pieces with 7 arrows, and the falling debris knocked down more than 200 monkeys. Lakshman then told Ram, "Kumbhakaran is so intoxicated from drinking blood that he devours monkeys and rakshasas alike without discriminating between them. If thousands of monkeys were to suddenly climb over Kumbhakaran's body, thus weighing it down, this rakshas could easily be defeated." Then innumerable monkeys began to crawl all over Kumbhakaran's body. The giant tried shaking the monkeys loose from his body as he continued meandering about. Looking for monkeys to devour, Ram took his opportunity to rush forward with his bowstring attached to his ear. Ram challenged, "O worst of the Rakshasas, please stand before me for a moment while my arrows dispatch you to the abode of Yamraj." Looking up, Kumbhakaran was overjoyed to see Ram before him. Laughing gleefully, he said, "What good fortune you have so kindly given me this opportunity. I shall devour you at once." Ram then showered torrents of arrows, but without being disturbed, Kumbhakaran picked up a terrible mace. Hoping to slay his enemy without delay, in response Ram evoked a powerful Vayu weapon, severing the giant's right arm, which held his gigantic club. Kumbhakaran screamed out in agony as his colossal arm fell to the ground, crushing an entire division of monkey soldiers. Mad with rage, Kumbhakaran tore up a huge tree with his left arm and rushed towards Ram. However, by invoking a mighty Indra weapon, Ram severed the giant's remaining arm. As the huge arm tumbled to the ground, numerous monkeys and rakshasas were crushed. Even though bereft of both arms, Kumbhakaran continued to rush towards Ram, making a terrible roaring sound. When the 2 arrows Ram cut off the Rakshasa's feet, still Kumbhakaran opened his horrible mouth and hobbled frantically towards Ram, hoping to devour him. As Kumbhakaran steadily approached Ram, filling his gaping mouth with so many arrows that the huge Rakshas began to gasp for breath. Finally, Kumbhakaran began to topple, losing consciousness from extreme pain. Ram then discharged another Indra weapon that streaked across the sky, illuminating all directions, and tore off Kumbhakaran's head. Kumbhakaran's gigantic body crashed into the sea, crushing to death huge fish and alligators. His head, shining like the full moon, landed on King's Highway in Lanka, demolishing his big palaces and huge sections of the defensive walls and gates. From the sky, the demigods gave ecstatic shouts of joy, and the monkeys began talking of Ram's victory as though they each had 5 mouths. As Kumbhakaran's relatives cried out in grief, Ram experienced transcendental bliss in accomplishing his heroic feat. Ravan was informed that Kumbhakaran's severed head was blocking the city gate, and his huge dead body was half submerged in the ocean. This was too much for Ravan, who simply fainted away. Upon regaining consciousness, he moaned, "Without Kumbhakaran, I will not be able to go on living, for life has no more meaning. What a mistake I have made by not listening to Vibhishan." One of the Ravan's sons, named Trishira, said, "Father, do not lament. I have immense prowess and weapons awarded from by Lord Brahma. My brothers Devantak, Narantak, and Atikai are also expert in conjuring tricks and can fight while flying in the sky. We shall go together and kill Ram, Lakshman, and the monkey warriors. Please give up your despair." Ravan became enlivened by Trishira's assurances. After decorating his 4 sons with ornaments and garlands, the Rakshas king sent them out to fight, along with Mahaparshva and Mahodar. The 6 powerful warriors headed to the battlefield, followed by the enormous army of Rakshasas. Thus the fighting began as both sides rode impetuously. Before long, the battle became difficult to traverse because of the piles of dead bodies, severed limbs, broken chariots, and shattered mountain peaks and crags strewn about. Monkeys that were previously struck down by the Kumbhakarans re-entered the fight, feeling refreshed, and at first seemed to gain the upper hand. Then, riding on horseback, Narantak slaughtered 700 soldiers with his spear. Sugriv ordered Angad to attack the son of Ravan. The unarmed Angad thus approached Narantak, challenging, "Why are you wasting your time fighting with common monkeys? Throw your spear at my chest if you consider yourself to be a great hero." Biting his lip in rage, Narantak suddenly hurled his spear. However, when it struck Angad, it broke into fragments and fell to the ground. Angad darted forward and smashed his fist on the head of Narantak's horse. The horse fell dead with a fractured skull, and the infuriated Narantak jumped to the ground, retaliating by smashing Angad's skull with his fist. As blood poured from his wound, Angad reeled back, but quickly came to his senses, again rushing forward with his fist clenched. Angad brought it down with full force upon his adversary, and the mighty blow crushed Narantak's entire chest, making him fall dead upon the battlefield. Ram was both pleased and astonished to witness Angad's heroic feat, but Mahodar could not tolerate the death of his nephew. He angrily rushed at Angad along with Devantak and Trishira. When he saw the 3 Rakshasas approaching, Angad tore up a giant tree, hurling it at Devantak. Trishira easily cut the tree to pieces with his arrows. Angad continued to shower trees and rocks, but to no avail. Mahodar then approached Angad while riding upon his elephant and struck him in the chest with the spiked club. Angad, however, was not even slightly disturbed by the blow and violently struck the elephant with his hand. The gigantic beast fell down dead. Angad tore out one of his tusks and hurled it at Devantak, wounding him severely. However, Devantak quickly recovered and struck Angad with his club, making the prince fall to his knees. Even though Angad sprang to his feet, Trishira struck him in the forehead with 3 arrows. Hanuman and Neel rushed to the prince's aid. Neel hurled a mountain peak at Trishira, and as a 3-headed Rakshasa smashed it to pieces, Devantak rushed at Hanuman with his club held high. Hanuman leapt up into the air to avoid Devantak's blow, simultaneously striking the Rakshas on the head with his clenched fist. With his skull completely smashed in, Devantak fell down dead on the battleground. Meanwhile, as Trishira released torrents of arrows at Neel, Mahodar mounted another elephant and rejoined the fray. As all of his limbs became pierced, Neel momentarily lost consciousness. Upon recovering, Neel took up a mountain peak, sprang into the air, and smashed it upon Mahodara's head. As Mahodar fell down, Trishira became mad with rage and began barraging Hanuman with streams of arrows. Hanuman retaliated with a mountain peak, but Trishira easily smashed it to pieces. Next, Hanuman released a continuous shower of trees, but the three-headed Rakshas tore them all to pieces too. Hanuman became frustrated and angrily jumped on Trishira's horse and began tearing at its hide with his sharp nails. Trishira tried to pierce Hanuman with his spear, but the monkey hero grabbed it out of his hands and broke it in half. Trishula then quickly drew his sword and slashed Hanuman across the chest, but in spite of being wounded, Hanuman slapped the Rakshas in the chest, making him fall off the horse dazed, and Hanuman then jumped down from the horse and picked up the Rakshasa's sword that had fallen from his hand and began roaring loudly. This was intolerable for Trishula, and he quickly jumped up and punched Hanuman in the chest. Hanuman fled with rage, and then grabbing Trishula by one of his necks, he severed all three of Rakshasa's head, one after another. The monkeys began roaring triumphantly. However, Mahaparshva angrily took up his iron club and began to drive the monkeys from the battlefield. Rishabh then came to the challenge of Mahaparshva, but Rishabh immediately struck him in the chest with his club, throwing him to the ground unconscious. When Rishabh again regained his senses, he again rushed at Mahaparshva, striking him severely in the chest with his fist. So we will continue from here onwards tomorrow. The battle goes on. Ravan's 3 more sons have been slain, and we are slowly going towards end of Ravan. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna.